driving up Horning here, coming through the tunnel in Bethel Park. Just coming out of past. Surprisingly enough, I just came from Danny's. Got to take a whole bunch of hoagies home, cook them for some friends. Good old water company over here. Gonna go through the old neighborhood where we grew up, and a lot of friends, long time friends. So coming up to Gardenville. This used to be a nice little creek down here where we got, I don't know if it still do, we used to get crawfish and did all kinds of stupid stuff in that little creek. So here we are on Gardenville, the magic border between Baldwin over here on the right and Bethel Park on the left. Used to sled ride down that hill over there on the left. I can't change the camera, but that was a lot of fun. So here's Charlotte, or I'm sorry, Blossom. And boy, if some of these trees could talk. We did a lot of snowball throwing from that spot that we just passed. I know that Dave Bauer used to live up here, and the Lefflers and Jeff Kerner. Some of those families, Ben Taylor, spent a lot of time down here at the very last house on the left, where we may or may not allegedly have thrown some snowballs from that roof there with a perfect escape plan, which involved jumping on the frozen pool and diving into the basement when it was needed. Here we are on Judith. I know the Tills live over there on the right. This road we're on now is the magic border between Overlook and McAnally for some reason. But the Bowers lived here. I think Jimmy Schmidt lived here on the left. Stangs, a little bit younger than us, over here on the right. Eddie Wilk on the left here. Lenny Rank's house over here on the left. Jerry Ruft. Susie, I just can't think of her name. I want to say Miller. Probably not right. Doug Donofrio here. The Cooks. Freddie Casper. Yeah, all these crazy. So they're up on the hill on the left. We used to, or straight ahead, we used to sled ride down there. That was fun. Back on Gardenville. Coming up to Elaine, and these poor guys on the left, they got some damage on that house from my brother rolling tires and golf balls down this poor hill. Those poor guys. Whew. This place, I remember it being so much bigger. But the Meesings were here on the left, the Lemons on the right. Who else? The Greers on the right, and the Nixes. I grew up right here on the left with this white railing house. Mr. Citro up here on the right somewhere, and the Tucheks and Langs and Wagners and more Langs. We were overrun with Langs. The Durbombs were up here. Those are my brother's class. This tree is incredible. Cousin Scott lived here in this tan house on the right. I know Gail lived up on the hill, and Amy Helm, and the Winklers, and a bunch of people lived on this street. But this, like I said, this border, this road here, Normal, was the border. If you're on the left of this road, you went to Overlook. You went on the right, you went to McAnally. So we didn't meet those guys till Whitehall for the most part. Mr. Joe Pizzi grew up here on the right. We go up this street. I know Pam Rashudo lived in that White House there, and I think Timmy Kirsch was up here somewhere. I know he was. I just don't know which one. Mr. Butello, Rich, up here on the left. Georgie Brethauer lived right behind me. Susie Fisher, that was the house over there on Judith. It was Mr. Miller lived in this house. It was right behind us. Cruising down here, used to cut through that yard to go down to the dairy. Cut through this corner yard when it was all pine trees at one time. Just to go to the dairy, which is up here on the right, or on the left, I guess. Over there. I remember when this was a 7-Eleven once. Here's a story. This used to be a 7-Eleven on the left, and we went in there one night to purchase, or it was one afternoon, to get some eggs because we were devious little bastards, and the guy behind the counter said no, wouldn't give us eggs. So we walked around and bought baggies and tomato soup to drop off of this trestle here because we were juvenile delinquents. Oh, those were the days, huh? Goodness. And then Barry Allen lives up down here on the left, and played a lot of football and baseball in that yard. Yak, Doug Young up here on the right. The Mountains lived up that street. Remember Billy? And Beth and those guys. This is what McKee Drive. This is where Yak grew up. Yak being Doug Young. Sorry, I only know him as Yak, even though I know he's really Doug Young. He's always Yak to me. Right there on the left. And I know there's a lot of other people that we went to school with in this neighborhood, but I don't know where or who. I know the Planiters lived over here, and the Brugmans, and Christopher, Mr. Greg Christopher, and Debbie Hoffman lived up here in the house. You know, I just don't remember. Mr. Bill Burwell on the other side of the overlook with Katie Wallace and those guys. Stu Wiedenbach. Yeah, just wanted to go through here. We're just wanted to see, just take a little trip. I'm a pretty nostalgic guy, and I like driving through the old hauntings and the old grounds that we used to. Gosh, I think about it. We're lucky that there were no phones and recording devices back then. We used to cut through one of these yards on the left here to walk to Harrison, and then to walk to Whitehall. Go to Barry's house first. We'd all gather at my house, walk to Barry's house, and then cut through those yards and end up at the schools. Those big houses up on the hill, they didn't exist. It was just a wooded area that took us straight to Hills. We'd walk through those woods and go straight down to Hills department store, and allegedly may or may not have thrown some snowballs from up there on the hill. Unconfirmed reports. Yeah, kind of fun. So anyway, that was my little trip. You know, all these years we lived here, I never even frequented Garden Bar. I never went there. I didn't do that. Didn't start going there till recently. But I went to Manor Dairy a lot. Did do that. With my little note from my mom to buy her Winston's. And that's, we'll finish up there.